project dual cab has well and truly begun. Got all the internals dismantled to get the stick out. Underneath we've got our little scaffold tower, we've got the cross member down, rear tail shaft unbolted. I guess I've done enough of these to have learnt my lesson. When I did this exhaust up, I tried to leave enough room to pull the transfer case back without having to unbolt it, and not going too far back that I lose any ground clearance or risk hitting it on rocks. I ended up putting the flexi right there next to the gearbox too. While the oil drains, I'm just going to do a little measurement for a reference point. The measurement I'm going to take is I'm going to take a flange to flange size on that front tail shaft. So my concern is that this shaft's not long enough. So we've got a 660 flange to flange size. So normally I have a little bit less compression here. I've got various amounts of different sorts of front shafts, different lengths. I'm going to see if there's one that's closer to that flange size and not have too much spline exposed. Because these ultimate springs, they will flex, which means that will walk out. Now with the 4Runner, I did do a 35mm diff push. So I am running a longer shaft, but you can see there's only about 20mm of compression. I have felt that bottom out on the rough stuff. And geez, there's a bit of surface rust appearing under this truck. It's going to need some TLC. So that's the predicament I don't want to be in with the dual cab. I don't want to have too little compression, but then not enough travel. So all I could find as far as front shafts go in this mess of a garage was this one that I remembered having. We've sacrificed a couple over the last couple of months with Tony's builds. So let's see if this one's going to be any better. We had a 660 flange to flange. Yeah, so this is 700. So this has been extended. This is a new tube on this one. So this is to suit a diff push. Bugger. I did find this though as well, so I might be able to just run the spacer on the front of that front one. We'll see how that sizes up as far as compression once this is on there. Transfer out, tick. Ready to give to Brian. I'll give this a good clean up before we reassemble. Fairy drop. Got our reduction gears from Roadrunner Offroad. We got the transfer case out. We'll be dropping this off at Brian's. So this is the 4.7 Trailgear kit. Ours is the 21 spline. We've run these a lot over the years. Brian probably knows how to do these now with his eyes shut. It's not what we're currently running in Bullet Truck, but with the dual cab and the single case, these will be sufficient. No mucking around from Brian. He got straight into this build.
This is the best bit, said no one ever. You filthy boy.
Ferry pickup this morning, almost at Brian's house, in Mum's taxi. It's been dying to do a burn, a DPF burn for a while now. Plus, you saw how clean this transfer case is going to be. Not a problem to put in the back of the Fortuner. But how exciting. We've got a run coming up this weekend. Phil's talking about a catch-up. And I've got 3 vehicles that are all waiting to do a test. I've got cars to test everywhere. We haven't driven this with the 6-shooter knuckles yet. So I've still got to align the front wheels on this, just make sure, measure front to back. I've got to put the split pins in the tie rod ends. We've got to get the winch into this bar, that's going on the dual cab. That can't be moved at the moment, it has no transfer. And then this needs a test run. We've got to test them ties out. It's all happening. Bullet Truck. Haven't driven it on the 6-shooter knuckles. Needs a run before the On All Fours comp in a couple of weeks. The 79, the tie test. Having a look at those Kumos off-road. All we're waiting for on that one are the brush bar bits to come from Michael. The dual cab. Well, the transfer case is going to be ready. Will we have it in time for the weekend? Also too, we need to get a load of firewood. So it's got to be one of the utes we take. Unfortunately, Bullet's probably going to miss out on this one. So it's a tie test versus the new crawler gear test. Which one will it be? I tell you, you need to see this thing in person to appreciate how clean he's made it. It's a pity it's not going in something like a hot rod or a show car, and that it's going to be getting mud and dirt all over it. Just can't get over how clean this is. So that's our four-wheel drive light, tells us when we've engaged the lever in the four-wheel drive. And then here's our speedo. Okay, so unlike the ones that we make, this doesn't compress all the way. So obviously the spline inside's longer and it's not letting the outside go further in. But what we're trying to say is that's pretty much not good. So if we're traveling that far, which I doubt we will be, so let's have a look at that measurement, because I was talking about, because I didn't have another shaft long enough, putting a spacer in on that side. But as long as I know where it's bottoming out, then I can measure that once it's all back together. The ride height's not set yet because the cross member's not in. It's bolted up, just finger tight, but there's the mark. So it looks like I've got about 40 mil of compression. So that spacer is going to bring me too close. We'll monitor that next drive. What I might do is leave this, all the hard parts done here. The rest is not a noisy job, so I can do it very early in the morning. I'm going to go to Bullet Truck Garage. Priority is get that winch in the bar. Got to get some oil, and I'll bring the grease gun back so we can get some grease in that uni before this cross member goes on. Much easier. Hopefully a bit of grease in the spline takes some of that play away. But you know, when we drove this down at Phil's farm, even towing the caravan from the house to the hut, I didn't feel any vibration. But now, because we've got a welded front center, there might be a little bit more pressure on that spline. Hopefully a bit of grease fixes that. We might be up for a new shaft. If you remember a couple of videos back on the 106, I had to modify this because the transfer case was touching it. And I did it in situ, but I still get a vibration every now and then, and I think I need to tidy that up. There's a small mark there, witness mark. But I'll just tidy that up a bit, and then hopefully it clears nicely. Just like getting Bullet Truck in that garage, every millimetre counts. So now I'm satisfied, there's no more noisy jobs. I'll head down to the garage, grab the oil, grease gun, and see if I can spend half an hour, 40 minutes on that bull bar. I'll get the rest of this done very early tomorrow morning. Next for the 106 is the bar. So I want to spend half an hour putting the Roadrunner 6.8 horsepower winch in the bar. I gotta laugh. So this winch is not going to fit in this bar. You can see down there the hole, and you can see the winch mount. I can't move it across because the motor's too long. So we're going to have to modify. I am now going to have to, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going to put it on hold. We'll give the dual cab a run without a bar and winch on it for now. Yeah, we'll come back to it. We've got plenty of other stuff to get done. We'll pack this away and we'll come back to it another time when I've got a bit more headspace. Super early start. I want to get this done in case we do want to take this today to get some firewood out in the bush. The kids' teachers are striking, so we've all got the day off. Shell's got the day off too. Liquid Gold, the 80 W140 is my choice for this transfer. Always a satisfying part when you're putting the sticks and the console all back together and you get to put that TG 4.7 gear knob on. But my favorite part of all is sticking it in low range for the very first time and taking off in first gear. So we've got the hubs free here, we're driving on the road. Now, I've driven on these gears for 20, 30 years, but never on a 4.3 center. So there's the 4.7 reductions in the transfer, but we're still running the stock 4.3 diff ratios. We're working with Bob at TJM Chipping Norton for some sponsorship on TJM lockers for Brian to sort out in those centers. That's that little bit of clearance I was chasing when I was grinding the cross member yesterday. He's even put a clear coat on it. Thanks, Brian. We'll get some grease into this slip joint. So I use a Penrite grease that I put into the grease gun by spatula. So I'm not familiar with the history on this front shaft, but sometimes when they do fail, it's that front cap lets all the grease back out. So we'll get some into this and see if we can take that play out. Yeah, happy days, it's worked. It's taken the grease and it hasn't come out that front, so the cap's okay. Lives to fight another day. You would think with a low K motor like this that it would be okay. So over greasing and putting too much grease in can also force that cap out. So you got to be careful, the fine line. Another thing I've had a quick minute to have a think about, and I actually did a bit of work on. Not long ago, we had a job where we had an exposed lentil which we got powder coated in black satin. I had an off-cut of that. What I've done, I've fabricated what I need as far as the plasma slot and the holes to use on this winch. Unfortunately, the bar's a bullet truck garage, but what I'm thinking of doing, as you can see there, I've got my 4 bolt holes and I've got the slot for the plasma. So what we'll do is we'll take this with us to the other garage and I'll show you what I want to do. Time to see if this crazy idea of mine works. So that's going to be the bottom so that we can put our hand through for free spool. Okay, that's the bottom. Oh, look at that. So what's left to do, I've got to work out exactly where left to right I'm putting it, and it was about 25-30 mil different from memory. So then I've got to re-drill these 12 mil holes and I have to extend the slot for the fair lead. And I'll put some welds, we'll have to get the stick welder out, and then once the bolt comes through into the winch, it'll be solid. Okay, so that's gonna work, but it won't be done in time for the first run on the 4.7s. Because here we are. So we're airing the razors down, gonna go 16. It's a teacher strike today. So Millie and Nicholas are out with me. Yay. But it's Mum's day off. So she's here too. And we've got the dual cap, so the reduction gears have gone in. This will be the first little run in it. This is the reason for this particular type of build. We can bring the family out for a day trip, maybe get some firewood, hard socials. So let's see how it goes. We've got the LSD in the rear and we've got the welded diff center in the front, which works out as locked.